Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GMRS 1900 Net. On this 26th day of May, 2020, this is Mike, WQYP 827, and I'll be your net control for the evening. Before proceeding with net, I'm going to check for any stations with emergency or priority traffic. Any emergency or priority traffic, please call in now. Hearing none, if during the net there is any emergency or priority traffic, you are free to break in at any time. The GMRS 1900 Net is a directed net where we discuss matters relating to GMRS and various other topics. While a directed net is in operation, all radio traffic must go through net control. This net is normally held every Tuesday on the Phoenix high-power 550 repeater, transmitting on 462.550 from the White Tanks at 7 p.m., also known as 1900 hours. The net is normally conducted utilizing the national travel tone of 141.3 Hertz. If you do not have that tone installed in your radio, you should do so as soon as practical. Participation in the net is still possible using the regular clip tone if you place your radio into monitor mode. All participants are encouraged to use monitor mode during the net to ensure that you don't miss anyone transmitting on a different tone. The GMRS 1900 Net website can be found at www.AZGMRS.org and is run by the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. We will start this net by asking for check-ins from our Zello users first. After that, I'll ask for check-ins from our RF users. After check-ins are complete, we'll pose our topics and ask for input. When you take your turn, we ask that you keep it short, to the point, so that any questions or comments can be properly addressed by all. And I would also remind you that when you are through with the conversation, please clear with your assigned FCC call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic before we continue? If so, please call in now. This is WQIP 827. Hearing none, we will now take check-ins from our Zello users only. Zello users only at this time, please.
WQW I-942, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. I got you. Any other Zello users only at this time? Zello users only.
WQZZ 533, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Copied that. Any other Zello users, please check in now. Okay, hearing none, we will now take check-ins from our RF users. Please check in two at a time with your name and call sign, and please speak slowly, giving a few seconds of pause between transmissions. Begin check-in now.
WQDZ 664, Trish.
This is Bob, WRCM 701.
Thank you, Bob and Rich. I got both of you. Continue check-in.
WRFJ 362, Ryan.
Okay, 362 Ryan, and there was another unit that came in after that.
WRFS 6.
All right, lots of static. Let's try it one more time.
WRFS 636, Keith.
Keith, got you. Whatever you did that time, just keep doing that. That's perfect. Continue check-ins, please.
WQYQ 594J.
Thank you, Jay. I got you. Any other check-ins?
WQZ 645.
All right, I copy 645 Gary, and I think there was another unit on top of that. Come on back.
WRCG 637 Steve.
637 Steve, copied you loud and clear. All right, continue check-in, please.
WRCG 640 Adam.
Copy 640 Adam. Any other check-ins before we start up?
WQRV 903 Tim.
QWR 795 Attila.
Thank you, Tim and Attila. I got both of you. Anybody else? One more call for any check-ins. Please come on in now. Okay, do I have a unit trying to get in? All right, well, we'll get started, and we'll check back in just a little bit for any later missed. All right, thank you. Everybody's already checked in. Tonight's topic is, what topics would you like to see covered on the net? If you've ever been part of running a regular net, one of the hardest jobs is finding a topic each week. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Let me know what topics that you would have that you would like to be done or interested in being done on our net. And let's start with 942.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the net, sir. I was only half listening while I was writing things down, so I apologize. Were you asking for future topics?
You are a multitasker. That's exactly right.
Not bad for being half asleep, too. I will have to think about that. That's always been a issue of mine, coming up with things for the... But, yeah, other than that, we got been playing around with the ESG alert tones and getting those working on the text messaging. We think we got that good. Also have it going out to a app called Push Over. It's a one-time $5 cost for the app, but then you got it for life, and you get push notifications on your phone, so that's working out good. I'm going to put out some details on that on the website. And also working on having a link for traffic or incidents around the valley on a web page listed out as they get reported. So, WQWR 942, back to net.
All right, Chris, appreciate your input as always, and think about topics, and I'll jump back on you before we head up tonight. Jeff, 533, how you doing out there tonight?
Good evening, Mike. I wish I had some really words to offer, but I don't. But I was thinking about maybe if we had a discussion about dead zones where people have discovered there's no coverage, things we might make note of that we all could benefit from. Just a thought. WQZZ 533, back to net.
All right, Jeff, appreciate that. That's definitely something I can work with. Appreciate the information. Rich, 664, you're next up.
Thanks, Mike.
I was thinking maybe something like how you can use your GMRS radios for things other than GMRS. You can use them for ham. You can use them as a replacement for a scanner, or if you have work channels, if you can use them for your work channels, something like that.
All right. Yep. That's all. Those are really good topics. I appreciate it. Like Chris said, picking a topic is one of the hardest things I think about this job.
Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt to prove it. Enjoy it. And doing a great job. WQDZ 66. Back to Net Control.
Thank you, Rich, as always. And 701 Bob, what do you got for us?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to be a dry well on that one. I really can't think of any topics. The ones you've been covering in the past seem pretty good. Again, like Rich said, maybe some more how we can use GMRS better, more efficiently. Although from what I monitor and that, everybody's doing very well with that. Unless you can think of maybe some procedural things, I really can't think of anything else.
Okay, that's perfectly fine too. Just appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight.
You're very welcome. All this part of my Tuesday night here. WRCM 701, clear.
Thank you, Bob. Ryan 362. Come on, dude. I know you got something.
Hey, good evening, Mike. Thanks for hosting the net. And this is 362. I did have some curiosity on learning more about simplex communication, just with buddies that live within 2-3 miles from here. I did try to do some simplex stuff today with 361, and we were not able to hear each other. And he's probably about 6 miles away. I know you said something about being able to communicate with somebody else that was further away. So I'm a little curious on learning the channels of what channels work best for simplex communication, just so we're not always having to use repeaters if we don't need to. Break.
All right, Ryan, before you come back on real quick, so were you using handhelds or were you using bases?
It was base to base. It was the Kenwood radio to Kenwood radio.
Well, I'm not sure unless it has something to do with your location, because I know for a fact, and my antenna is not the highest, but I've had some conversations with 903 on simplex. Gary and I tried simplex the other day, and we're definitely further than 6 miles apart. Wasn't the best communication, but we could hear each other. So I don't know. It might be something with your location.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, maybe after the meeting, some other time we can try it together. I know because we both have almost pretty much the same setup, so it'd be interesting to see if we could communicate. We're not that far from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have no problem doing that. You got anything else?
Not that I can think of. Appreciate you hosting the net, and this is WRFJ 362. Back to net.
Ryan, appreciate it. Yeah, we'll get together and we'll talk about that. Keith, you still out there? What do you got for us tonight?
The only topic that I can come up with is the radios that the users actually use, whether they're base or handheld radios, and what works the best. WRFS 636, back to net.
All right, Keith, appreciate it, and glad to see you on here tonight, or hear you on here tonight, I should say. Let's see here. Looks like Jay, 594. You still out there?
I apologize. I had to move to the Zillow inside the store, so I couldn't get out. Yeah, I'm like the last gentleman. One of the discussions I'd like to see is what radios everybody has, the HTs, and if there's a a consensus or a number of them that maybe, let's say, like have the antitones, what works with them, what are some of the tricks that they're using them for, discussions on the handhelds to get a little more familiarity with it. WQIQ 594.
Okay, excellent idea. And thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. And if you're out there in the store, how's the social distancing going out there?
You see a lot of them that do pretty good on the social distancing, and then there's others, you kind of have to watch it. But overall, everybody's doing pretty good. WQIQ 594.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight and taking the time. Good topic. Gary, 645. You got any topics for us?
Well, good evening to the net. I appreciate you taking the net tonight. Once again, Mike. I do have a couple of things that I want to remind everybody about. The meeting that's coming up on Saturday, June 20th. That is going to be a virtual meeting, and it will be using a Google video service. And if you need any more information about that, just let us know or email us. We have sent out an email about information on that. So again, let us know if you have any questions about it, because it is a new kind of a thing for us. But we do want to make sure that all of our members can be participating in the meeting. And then also on YouTube, we will have the meeting, I believe, live there, that individuals that are not members can also watch that as well. Now, looking at the topic of topics. And we're looking at a couple of good ones. Are always antennas. Maybe a good discussion about the difference between an antenna with no gain or unity antenna and an antenna with higher gain, and the big difference that just that antenna, changing those antennas, can make in a person's range. And then, of course, also SWR, reflected power, and forward power, and all that, and how that can also affect a person's range and their ability to talk to the distance that they want to. Just a couple of ideas there, and I will turn it back to Nat. This is WQZ 645.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. That's definitely something to put on the list. Let's see. Before I continue, let's make one more call to see is there any late or missed check-ins. If so, please call in now.
WRFW 619 Raymond.
All right, 619 Raymond, I copied. Any other late or missed check-ins before we continue? Okay. Next up, looks like I've got 637. Steve, how's it going tonight?
Good morning, Mike. Good morning. Good evening. Oh, boy. Gary touched on a subject that I was going to ask about, and that was antennas and ranges and things like that. Last weekend, I was up in the Superstitions, and I was actually able to communicate with the 550 White Tanks repeater, and somebody actually got back to me about it. It was very, very staticky and weak signal, and to my surprise, I switched over to the Towers repeater, and I was able to get it crystal clear. And that was, my location was about a 5,000 foot elevation, and just east-northeast of Superior. So I was surprised that I was able to get that far, and what I would like to see if anybody on a topic could come up with the longest distance they were able to transmit, and what type of antenna they were using, and what the situation was as far as geographic location. WRCG 637.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Actually, we could even maybe even have a little contest and see who we can get to do the longest distance there. Good information, and glad you were able to get in on one of those. And yeah, that 575, like I said, the footprint on that is just crazy. Lots of guys up in Payson are using that one. 640, Adam, you're next up.
WRCG 640. Good evening, Mike and everybody on the net. And Mike, as always, thanks for taking it. As somebody who's occasionally called upon to run the net, I actually have a little backlog of topics for just in case. Some things that I like to keep on my list are, talking more about activities that we could do on GMRS, kind of like how over on the ham side they've got radios under sunshade or parks on the air and soda. Maybe ways we could have activities like that over on the GMRS side. A fun one could be build your ultimate mobile rig on the air. Everybody talks about what they'd like to have gear-wise while they're out and about. Cool radio tricks. Talk about stuff that you can do with your gear that's not common. Using it a little differently. Reset. Some other topics could be, new radio technology like digital modes, what's new with scanners, software-defined radio. And a few good standbys are, talk about your Radio Shack, tell us how you're set up at home, what's on your wish list, and one that's a little bit radio adjacent, but other than your radio, what's in your go bag or what's in your everyday carry. Those are just a few fun ones that we might get a chance to do in the future. This is WRCG 640.
Adam, you just a world of knowledge there, dude. And I was writing very quickly. Thanks for all that information. Let's see. Tim, 903, you're next.
Oh, good evening, everyone on the net. This is Tim, WQRB 903, and Michael, thanks for taking the net tonight. And I think everybody else pretty much exhausted my possible subjects. The one thing that I would like to see us talk about maybe is which radios can be remoted to save space in the passenger compartment. That would be a good topic, possibly. Maybe a very short one, but a good one. And I guess that's about it that I can think of. And I like the antenna subjects, and I like the subject about how far you can transmit with different equipment and over different terrains and stuff like that. So that's good. Those are all good topics. Anyway, back to the net, WQRB 903.
All right, Tim, thank you very much, and I'm putting that down. Let's see, what do we get next? Attila, what's going on?
This is WQWS 795. Good evening, Mike and the net. The simplex mode was already mentioned. I would go a little bit further to think about that it would be feasible for the club to figure out that the member base station could talk to each other on simplex mode, without the repeater, and put it on a map. That's my suggestion for discussion. The WQWS 795, back to net control.
All right, Attila, good suggestion, and I think Gary is going to be commenting something along those lines on in the ESG. I think we're already partway there, determining locations where simplex operations could take place when things like the repeater go down. And thank you very much for that, and thank you for being in there tonight. Looks like I've got Raymond, 619. You're next up, and we're looking for topics for the net.
Well, I'm kind of new to the radio scene, kind of picking up the hobby in the isolation quarantine scenario here. So I just picked up a couple of handhelds for mine and a wife's go bags, and figured at the same time I went ahead and got licensed for GMRS.
All right, are you talking on a handheld or a base at this point?
I'm on a handheld at this point, and speaking of antennas, I actually got 2 new antennas for them today, which has actually improved the signal substantially.
Okay, well, you're hitting the repeater just nice and loud.
Yeah, I've been able to hit the Tower 575 one pretty good, too, over the last week or so.
What kind of antennas did you end up getting?
I got a couple of the Nagoya NA771s.
All right, well, you obviously went the right direction. I believe I did hear you on 575 earlier today, I think it was, or tomorrow, and you sounded just as strong going into that.
Yeah, and that's sitting in the house, not even outside.
All right, well, good job, and do you have any suggestions for topics at all?
I'm just kind of a fly on the wall at this point, kind of trying to learn it, so I'll go ahead and release control back to the net.
All right, well, we all started somewhere, and I'll go ahead and let you ID out.
WRS W619, releasing the net.
All right, Raymond, thanks a whole lot. Any other late check-ins or missed check-ins before we close up tonight? Go ahead and call in now.
WQWC portable.
Okay, I copied Brent out there, 299. I think there was another unit out there buried in the static. You want to try it again?
886 checking in. Way out in by the Chandler Airport, so I'm on a mobile, hopefully getting here.
Yeah, I can hear that you're out. I think you said Marana, but I didn't get the call sign.
Yeah, the call sign is WQYS 886. Jason, and I said I was over here by the Chandler Airport.
All right, I got 886 Jason. Okay, I copied it that time. What are you doing way out there?
Believe it or not, I live all the way out here. It's the first time I've been able to actually hear you guys on the repeater, so I had to get to a high point here in the valley so I could actually get the repeater. So I'm getting a new antenna coming in by Ed Pong, and hopefully that will let me do it from the house. But I figured I would at least see if I could hit the repeater since I'm a good distance away.
All right, Jason. Yep, I copied it. What kind of antenna do you got coming in? Is it a directional, like a Yagi?
The antenna coming in is an Edge phone. It's a 6-meter GMS tuned non-base, so it's basically a J-pole.
All right. Well, be interested when you get it to see how it works out.
Same here. AQYS 886, first time on the repeater, signing out. Thanks.
All right, Jason, appreciate it. Brent, 299, are you still in there?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
We're looking for possible topics for the net. What do you got for us? Anything?
Everything I had, everybody else has answered, and I liked Tim's question as well about the remote mount. I have 3 remote mount radios in my truck, and they're just amazing. They don't take up the space, and they're easily moved around if you need to. other than that, I don't have anything else. WQWZ 1099.
All right, Brent, appreciate that. Any other late check-ins or missed check-ins you want to call in now? All right, hearing none, how about any additional comments before we close up?
942.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about you.
What do you mean you forgot
Okay, well,
about
I just wanted to mention one thing, WQ. And we were talking about, during the net, we were talking about using simplex and also about how far distant people have been able to communicate using GMRS. And I just wanted to mention that we have an ongoing contest with the club. And those people who do make a contact with someone at a fairly long distance, and go ahead and email me if you can. I'd appreciate that, because we'll enter you into the contest, and the winner gets a certificate at the annual meeting for the individual who had the longest contested communication there on GMRS. So just wanted to mention that. And, of course, we have the AESG Net coming up next. This is WQZ 645.
All right, Gary, thank you very much for that. And I would just put a little disclosure note on there. It has to be an RF contact. No Zello users contacting somebody over in another country. Thank you, Gary. And, Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I think you were in there. I think you and Gary got in together.
Roger that. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to remind everybody, especially those on the East Valley and the Chandler Airport area, once we can get these repeaters linked up, that'll help you guys quite a bit. Because looking at the map, Chandler Airport is crossing right through South Mountain to get to White Tanks. That's the biggest problem there. We should have the Scottsdale repeater hopefully in the near future. I know Randy was trying to get to that yesterday, but never heard back on that, so probably a little while longer for that one. And then we got the Mesa guys out there for their repeaters to get linked up, so once they're ready, we can get those all connected up. WQWI 942.
All right, Chris, good information. Any other comments or late check-ins? Go ahead, Brent. 299, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. My radio switched channels. I've started ordering the list that Chris emailed me for the parts for mine. So hopefully here in the next
All right, that's good information and good to hear, especially for those on the east side of town.
No problem. WQWZ.
All right, Brent, thank you. Any other comments before we close up tonight? All right, this is WQYP 827. I want to thank everybody who did check in and participate in tonight's net. Hope to hear you all back here next week. Special thanks goes out to WPRR 517 for hosting the Phoenix High Power 550 repeater. This is WQYP 827, net control for the GMRS 1900 net, returning the repeater to its normal operation. Everybody have a good night.
Good evening. This is Gary, WQZ 645, and I'll be your net control for the Arizona Emergency Services Group net. This net is normally conducted after the Tuesday night 1900 net concludes. The Arizona Emergency Services Group, or AESG, is part of the Arizona GMRS Repeater Club. The volunteers in our group, a unified team of licensed GMRS and amateur radio operators, receive training and also conduct exercises to expand their skills. Some of our members have a ham radio license, some have a GMRS license, and some have both. And those who are dual licensed have an extra tool in their radio toolbox. If you're interested in joining our group, just send us an email at ESG@AZGMRS.org. The purpose of this net is to perform a regular test of communication equipment, provide training in emergency procedures, and exchange information related to preparedness. All nets, whether for training, exercises, events, or incidents, are directed nets. This means that all traffic must go through net control. In addition, stations should notify net control prior to changing frequencies or leaving the net. Any station may begin at any time with emergency or priority traffic. Is there any such traffic at this time? Hearing none, we will continue with the net tonight, and we're going to start out with our check-ins. Any station that would like to fill in as alternate net control, please call now with your FCC call sign.
WQYP 827.
Okay, 827, Mike, you are alternate net control. And we'll go ahead and continue with the check-ins. Stations, please call in with your FCC call sign 2 at a time.
WRFJ 362.
WQWZ 299.
Okay, we have 299 Brent, and we have 362 just checked in. Any other stations?
WRC 640.
WQWI 942.
WQIQ 594J.
I was sleeping pretty.
WQRV 903, Tim.
QWS 75.
Okay, we've got 903 Tim and 795 Tilla checked in. Any other stations?
WQZZ 533, Jeff.
WQIQ 594J.
Bring the flag.
Okay, we have 594J, and I think there was another station in there that was covered by the repeater identifier. Can you try that again?
WRDC 319.
Okay, we haven't got 319 checked yet. Any other stations?
WQZZ 533, Jeff.
Okay, we've got 533 Jeff checked in on Zello. Any other stations? Okay, we will go ahead and continue with the net. And I just wanted to mention one thing. Of course, we are always trying to be prepared in our group. And one of the things we need to be prepared for is terrorism. And I just wanted to mention that I'm not sure how well the news covered this because there weren't a whole lot of serious injuries, but there was a terrorist attack on one of our military facilities last Thursday in Corpus Christi, Texas, there at the naval base. And what happened was a Syrian-American terrorist armed with an AR-15, a shotgun, and a pistol came up to the guard gate, and a young female sailor there on duty at the guard gate was shot square in the chest. Fortunately, she was okay because it hit her in the vest, but it did knock her down, though, and she got up after being shot, hit the button that brought up the barrier that stopped the terrorist from going into the base, and then emptied her weapon on his vehicle. And this terrorist was killed at that time before he got onto the base, and the investigation has showed that it was terrorist related, and he was intending on going into the base and shooting up as many people as possible on the base. So I just wanted to mention that this female sailor is okay. She was released from the hospital with some minor injuries. But I think we can take two things from this, and one is that's the kind of people that we have in our military, and the day after Memorial Day is certainly a good time to speak about that. And then another thing, of course, is we can never, completely let our guard down. It's just assume that certain things are just not going to happen, because they will happen. And we do need to be prepared for them. So I just wanted to mention that. And then we're going to continue with the net. Let me check one more time to see if we have any check-ins remaining. Okay, very good. Now, we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of things. And Attila, earlier in the 1900 Net, spoke about simplex operations and being able to use simplex, and that is certainly something that is of interest, and we want to be prepared for that and able to use simplex in the event that repeaters go down and we still need to communicate. And the idea behind this is starting up one of our exercises that we're going to have coming up here soon. I sent out an email today about that, and we're going to have an exercise that will be testing our simplex capabilities by using 5 locations around the valley, which are relay and monitoring locations, and we're going to see if we can communicate and send a message by simplex all the way around the valley to the east side and back over to the west side. And during this exercise, we're going to also test our ability to receive simulated emergency calls by simplex and communicating those to net control. And we're also going to have a net control that will be operating simplex instead of on a repeater, which should be quite a challenge. So if you're interested in that, send me an email. If you're or just let me know here on the radio, as well as if you can pick the location that you will be at during this simplex test. There are 5 locations in the email that I sent out, and you can just reply to that email and let me know which location you would like to be at. We already have one person that has selected a location, but other than that, it is wide open. So let us know about that, and we will definitely, I think we'll have a good time, and we'll find out a lot of information about what areas we can cover by simplex and what areas don't work so well. And then coming up, we will also have an exercise, I believe, that is going to involve the Phoenix CERT organization. And will also be similar to that one, but it will be much more involved, involving simulated emergency traffic. And we're going to have net control, and in the future we'll be monitoring not only GMRS frequencies, but also ham frequencies. And we will coordinate and communicate with the station that they have in the Phoenix EOC, because they do have a station there, a ham station. And in the event phones go down or something like this, we will still be able to communicate and get messages through to the public safety agencies, fire department, and so on. And that is all we have so far on the exercises that we have coming up. Now, in the fall, of course, we're going to have the RDF Challenge, and that's always a lot of fun. And hopefully we will be able to have that without any problems from COVID-19. Just stay away from us, okay? But the next subject is when you need to break in, when you need to interrupt communications during a net, especially a AESG net. What's the best way to do that? Let me just check and see if we have any questions or comments on the exercises coming up.
903.
Go right ahead, Tim.
When did you send out the email regarding the, what was that? Simplex exercise.
Well, that was sent out not that long ago, probably about a little after 6 tonight.
Okay, so far I have not received it.
Okay, well, let me know if you do not receive that. I'll make sure you get it, and we'll check and see why you didn't receive that. Any other comments?
No, that's it for right now. WQRV 903, back to net control.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments for the net?
299.
Go ahead, 299.
Hey, Gary, I didn't get that email either.
Okay, well, we will have to check into that, see what's going on. But everybody on the distribution list should have received that. So we'll look into that. We'll make sure you get it.
WQBC 299.
95.
Go ahead, Attila.
I just want to say I haven't received your email either. WQWR 795, back to net control.
Okay, thanks for that info. We're something we'll have to look into, see what's going on. We had 4 locations around the valley that were selected due to their location and also their elevation, because they're a little bit higher elevation than the surrounding terrain, which will help with the simplex test. Let me check and see if we have any other comments or questions for the net tonight.
319.
Go ahead, 319.
Just for 299, you're not on Tango. It took me a second to realize that. WRDC 319, back to net.
Okay, copy that. Appreciate that, 319. Did you copy that, 299? Brent, net control. Okay, we'll check with him later. Any other questions or comments about the exercises that we've been talking about?
942.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, sir. Just another vote on I did not get the email as well. WQW on 942 back to net.
Okay, well, I will look at that and see what's going on. Any other questions or comments for the net? Okay, very good. And the next thing that we do want to discuss tonight is what happens when a net is going on and you need to break in, especially a AESG net that is controlled type net. And now, when you don't have any really priority or emergency traffic and you just want to check in, you just use your call sign. Or you might, if you have information for the conversation that's going on, you might just jump in and say info. A lot of people will do that, and that works out quite well. But if you must interrupt an ongoing contact during an AESG net, it's important to net control that you state the precedence of your message first and be brief. Then once you've been recognized by net control, you can identify with your call sign whether you have a tactical call sign or an FCC call sign, and then give your message. For example, you wait for an opening in the conversation and you state priority station 2 or just priority. If you have information to provide or request, and as we mentioned before, you can just state info and then your call sign.
827 for comment.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, this is just an example of how to get in WQYT 827.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that, Mike. That's a good example right there. And I was just going to say, if your message has no precedence, you just simply give your call sign, just as Mike did. On the other hand, if you have an emergency, it's important to net control to know, especially if there are a couple stations trying to call into the station at the same time, they need to know if one of those stations has a higher precedence, a more important call. So if you do have a higher precedence and you have an emergency call, state emergency traffic, and net control should respond with all stations stand by, emergency traffic, go ahead. Now, if an operator calls in with important traffic and simply just states their call sign or break or something along those lines, net control may assume they just have a routine call and advise them to stand by. And this will delay the message getting through. That's why an operator with higher precedence traffic should always announce it first. And the term break should not really be used, and there's a lot of discussion about that, but it has different meanings to different people, so it's best just not to use it as far as we're concerned in the AESG. And also, when you call in and say break, it does not provide the message precedence. And then, of course, when you're done with a conversation, you're always in with your FCC assigned call sign. Okay. Does the net have any questions or comments about this topic? Okay, very good. Well, that's basically all we had for tonight. And I appreciate everybody involved with the net tonight. Appreciate everybody checking in. And as I mentioned before, we are going to have not only some exercises coming up. One, we can all get back together. We're going to have our meetings, our regular meetings. We're going to have AESG training sessions that will be available on different subjects as well coming up. And everybody is appreciated when they come up and participate in and get involved with those. Okay, and let me just check one more time to make sure that we don't have any check-ins that need to call in. Okay, and one more time, any other comments or questions for the net tonight? Okay, very good. This is WQZ 645 Net Control. The repeater is now being returned to normal operations.
Uh, 362-827.